Alright, today we're going to be going over the Conqueror, the tier 10 British battleship. Now, I know what you might be thinking, and even I think this myself, is that why would you play the Conqueror when the Thunder is right there, just staring at you, waiting for it to be played? But in case you haven't got the coal, or you want to spend the coal on something else, the Conqueror is a really nice tier 10 battleship to actually play. Now there's a lot of very unique elements of the ship. For one, its citadel is really high. 2, its AP isn't all that great. And 3, its heal is incredibly good. But with those things in mind, let's actually get into kind of how I usually do my guides. So I'm going to start off with some modules. Obviously, you take premium damage con, and you take the premium heal. These are just basic stuff. You always take premium because it will pay you back in the long run. Throughout the game, the 22,500 you spend on the consumables will actually probably get you more damage and more credits as a result. So with that being said, this is my build. I go a pretty damage con heavy build. I take main armaments mod 1, damage con 1, aiming systems, damage con 2, concealment, and reload booster. Well, not reload booster, but main battery mod 3. Which kind of is a reload booster, but yeah, what can you do? Now, with this ship, I take Adrian Walsh. I haven't actually maxed out this ship yet because I haven't actually played it all that much. Because I got the Conqueror first, I think, and then I decided to pick up the Thunder. And as you can probably see, I have 1,100,000 XP on the Thunder, whereas I only have about 150k on the Conqueror. But that being said, these ships are relatively similar. You just have to adapt your playstyle a little bit. The two big things are basically that the heal isn't as big on the Thunder, whereas it is on the Conqueror, and the AP isn't actually all that good on the Conqueror, whereas it is good on the Thunder. Both ships have incredibly good HE. That being said, let's get through the captain skills. So we want to go preventive maintenance, expert marksman, superintendent, obviously, concealment expert, and then you probably want to go fire prevention. Holy Jesus! I go adrenaline rush because you're going to be taking a lot of damage, probably a lot of fire damage. That's why the heal's so good. And so if you can just increase your reload time while soaking up damage, always a nice benefit. And then after that, I'm not really all that sure. On the Thunder, I would take expert loader and stuff like that, but for me, it doesn't actually seem all that effective. Mostly because your AP isn't actually all that good. So I think that's just personal choice. You can play around a little bit. Maybe you can take maybe jack of all trades or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what I go for. I'd probably go fire prevention for the next 4 point skill, and then after that, probably pick a 1 point skill or something like that. But with that being said, let's get into some camouflages. Again, camouflages are a bit basic. Take the concealment one, and then if you need any economic bonuses, go for that. Now, usually I wouldn't recommend a detonation flag on any ship, but yeah, this is not an exception. Don't take that. Fire extinguishing time, always good. You take flooding recovery time. These are just basic BB flags. I take Sierra Mike because I like having that little bit of extra speed on these ships. Obviously India Delta for the extra heal, which is huge. And November Foxtrot. Again, reload time's always nice. I don't know why I took this. You should never be close enough to actually use this. And then you can take whatever economic flags you want, but generally these are the most important ones. And with that being said, let's actually get into the gameplay. Whereas this game's going to show you, if you use the Thunder playstyle with the Conqueror, it's not going to work out all that well. And I think this game accurately demonstrates how the AP isn't actually all that effective. But yeah, with that, let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so we're in game, and if we look at the teams, we're going to see that they have 2 carriers in the game. they have 2 Montanas, 2 Ohios, an Ohio, a Thunder, Conqueror, Curvers, Republic, Yamato, Yamato, Kremlin, Des Moines, Venezia, Smolensk, Shimakaze, and Grozvoy. So, the main thing to note here is that there is going to be a hell of a lot of BBs. Now, this is actually pretty decent for the Conqueror. Because the HE is so potent, you can set multiple fires and multiple ships. You can do a hell of a lot of damage in games like this, as long as you play it effectively and correctly. Now, that being said, if you look on the minimap, I'll just enlarge it here a little bit. If you look on the minimap, you can see that there's a lemming train going towards the south of the map. And this is the last thing you want to do. When you're playing BBs, you need to look for opportunistic crossfires at all points. And that goes back to the 2 things of being able to position well and aim correctly. If you do those 2 things correctly, you'll have these opportunities in abundance. Now, that being said, I do notice now the Des Moines is starting to push to the left-hand flank. And now I decide if I turn and the Montana turns, we have actually a really good potential of creating a good enough force to actually push that left-hand flank, considering that the southward force is going to be a massive draw. And the thing you have to remember to play into this is that the carriers are going to have preferential spotting on any ship in the game. So they're going to see the formations of the enemy like line out before anything else. So that gives you extra time to actually anticipate where the enemy's moving and to react accordingly. So if our carrier goes off now and sees a whole lot of their ships pushing to the northwest, then we know to back off. But if we see the majority of their force pushing southeast, which we do, then I'm free to push this flank. And you'll notice that their Thunder and Ohio is actually pushing this flank. The Montana decides not to push with us, which is questionable because it's going to take them so long to actually catch up with the rest of the team that he would actually be better off just pushing the flank with us. But I think we can still hold this flank pretty well. Yeah, so that's the battle plan lined out a little bit. Again, HG is so potent. 7k damage on 1 fire already. And you're probably thinking, you know, why don't you use AP in this scenario? It's basically due to the fact I just don't have enough trust. I just don't have enough trust in this ship and these shells to actually hit consistently the Montana at that range. Now you will see later on in the battle that even though we get 6 hits right there and do a massive amount of damage, but you will see later on I try and actually switch to use AP just to test it out, just to see how effective it is. You know, I want to cover a little bit of everything in this game, and you're probably going to see that I struggle a hell of a lot to get consistent shots. Now there's 2 things there, could be my aiming, could be the shells, but I'll let you judge for yourself. And again, we get another fire, another 2 hits and another fire. The fire chance is just so obnoxious in this ship, it's actually insane. That's why I'd only really recommend using HE. You can see now that the Thunder, just oblivious to the world, decides to sail full broadside. I switched to AP, but unfortunately I tunnel vision a little bit too much and I hit an island. I think we all do that sometimes. Now we do get 1 hit, it only does 4,000 damage, which isn't all that much. But at this point the Ohio's basically out of the battle because they can't get good shots off behind that island, and we're basically 2v1 on with the Thunder, which is the perfect scenario where we want to be. Now at this point I still have AP loaded, and now remember I don't have expert loader, so that means if I want to reset the HE it's going to take me 25 seconds. So I was holding off a little bit, maybe thinking I could maybe get a shot in the Ohio, but that wasn't going to materialize, so I decided to just fire those shells at the Thunder, get 4,000 damage, and then immediately switch to HE. Now I know, look at the minimap, look at where the Ohio last was. I know where he's going to come. I know where he's gonna... well, that sounded weird. I know where he's going to pop out. And boom, full broadside. And I immediately switch to HE. Now if I had expert loader here, I immediately switch to AP. But if I had expert loader, I might actually stand a chance of getting a shot on. But I didn't. I don't get a shot. And the Ohio gets away with making a really dangerous mistake. Now at this point, the bottom side of the map is just, well, they're just firing shells at each other, seeing what sticks. The Shimikaze is probably going to go down to the Grozavoy. Although he does seem to have some support by another cruiser, but I can't really make that out which one that is. It's not the Des Moines, it's a Venezia. So he should be A-okay to an extent. Now the Des Moines showing a little bit too much broadside there, but we should be fine to push this a little bit. And this is probably one of the best scenarios for the Conqueror right now. Mostly due to the fact that when you're chasing ships, they have to constantly angle, and the HE on this ship is so good at setting fires and getting massive amounts of damage on angled BBs. Now you'll notice the Thunder's actually pretty good at that too. You know, he does 8k to me, but I think with my super heal, the fire doesn't mean as much to me as it does to them. So you need to take that into consideration too. Now at this point, you're not going to notice that I'm still switching back and forth between AP and HE, but it doesn't. The AP just doesn't seem to stick. It doesn't seem to do all that much damage. I'm getting much more success out of the HE than I am out of the AP, and you know that's kind of to be expected. Now you notice that I was waiting for the Thunder to pop up because I thought maybe, you know, if I switch target aggro. Or switch which target I'm aiming at, he'll show a little bit more broadside. And I see the Ohio start to turn to give me a little bit more broadside, and I decided to fire at him, but again, 4 non-pens. What can you do? I decided to immediately switch back to HE because it's bread and butter. I'm not having all that much success with AP. And now they're running away, so we can actually push this flank really hard. Now the one thing to take into consideration here is that although the Des Moines does have a tanky bow, I think if those 2 ships actually came at us, like full on, I don't think there's actually all that much we could do to actually, you know, hold them off. We're actually in a bit of a lucky situation that either A, they aim quite poorly, and B, that we're aiming okay, even though we are making some mistakes. No, I wouldn't recommend chasing in the Conqueror all the time. you know, if you're going to try and chase a Yamato on a Conqueror, you might have a bad time, to put it lightly. Actually, even trying to duel Yamato, you're going to have a bad time. You know, the playstyle isn't all as dissimilar to like a long-range cruiser or just a long-range ship in general. You know, your job's to set fires from pretty far range, not to actually get involved in it like brawls or anything like that. And we do pick up the Ohio, which is pretty nice. And now we switch focus to the Thunder. Now you'll notice the airplanes are coming straight at me because obviously we're pretty close to spotting the enemy aircraft carrier, and if we do, we immediately switch focus to that because that's probably one of the most valuable ships in the game. But until that point, we're just going to completely focus on using our HE to burn down whatever target we can. Did you see that drop? That was ridiculous. These guys just come in here and just get 16k just for the shits and giggles. It's insane. Anyways, besides that, that's irrelevant. We get another fire. We got 4 fires so far from like 50 shells, which is insane. But yeah, we're just taking down the Thunder. At this point, the game's, well, I wouldn't say 100% over, but we're in a really strong advantage. And we see the Conqueror start to turn out. Now I immediately switch to AP2 and get a little bit trigger happy. And that's the thing with switching between 2 different shell types. You don't really have this consideration with other BBs, is that if you make the wrong decision, it affects you a hell of a lot more than many other ships. Now, especially if you switch between AP and HE and cruisers or DDs, you know, reload isn't all that much. It's probably what? At worst case, it's probably like 10-15 seconds for maybe heavy cruisers. So it doesn't affect you all that much. But in BBs, this is a problem unique to British BBs. Even the Thunder suffers if you don't have expert loader, which I didn't until recently. So take that into consideration when you're playing this ship. Never switch to AP unless it's absolutely guaranteed you're going to get a really good broadside shot. And that involves just predicting where ships are going to be. Like the Ohio example earlier, you know, he moved behind that island. I knew he was going to come out full broadside. I should have had AP loaded and ready to go, but I didn't. And it's something I learned in this game. We get another salvo on the Thunder. We get another fire, and we're up to about 111k. Not too bad, not too shabby. Now, the midway is one target where I would recommend using AP at all costs, unless he goes full broadside or full bow in which case these shells aren't really, the AP shells on the Conqueror actually aren't all that effective at actually penning, but that's a story for a different day. Now overall this ship's actually really enjoyable to play. Now again, I don't have all that much XP in it, but it just plays very similar to the Thunder in many scenarios. Now one thing I might want to touch on here is that the angles is actually not all that bad for firing. You actually do get some decent hits while remaining relatively well angled overall. So that's something to take into consideration. It's just not something I could really say about the Thunder. You know, the angles are pretty decent on the Thunder, but not to this extent, I feel. We'll fire the second salvo, hoping to get another good hit. 13k on that one. No citadels, sadly. And that just sums up the Conqueror AP in a nutshell. You could basically fire a full broadside aircraft carrier and get no citadels. And probably the most interesting example is about to come up right now. Watch these shells. Watch these shells. Boom. 7 bounces. Now that's not enough of a justification not to use AP in this ship. I don't know what is. You know, but with that being said, I think overall you need to if you commit to the playstyle, you can be really successful in this ship. But if you don't, you're gonna have a really bad time. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this little guide, and I'll see you in the next one.